Are you seeing me okay?
Looks great.
Okay. So welcome to today's Lunch and Learn, and thank you for the invitation to share with everyone. My name is Cassandra Hoover, as Brittany had said, and together with my husband, David, we operate a non-traditional farm here in Columbia County, which happens to include reindeer. I will say that reindeer bring a unique aspect to our farm, but I also acknowledge that each and every one of us have our own unique aspects to our farm and entrepreneurial pursuits. So it's my hope with my presentation that you too can look at your uniqueness and perhaps tap into it for growing your farm for profits. I may even challenge some of your thinking. So our story, I'm gonna switch hands here. Our story, I apologize for any shakiness. I'm sitting in my truck making this work. Our story started and originated, the farm originated with my in-laws, John and Nancy Christmas, focusing on the whitetail industry. Some of the unique things of the whitetail farm were educational on petting and photo opportunities at the farm and hosted on and off the property. So have you thought about your uniqueness at your farm and capitalized on it? If you're not, you're offering educational programs to groups or the public, how can you? This is a lucrative area to create income for your farm and your family. Your uniqueness is interesting to others, and by unique nature, there are more who don't know what you do than do. So perhaps that's a place that you can harness to bring income for your family, because people will exchange currency for your unique experience, product, or service. So look at how you can best tap into that, be it in person or on or off the farm or via technologies such as today with Zoom. A lot of us in the reindeer industry took advantage of that last year because of not being able to do in-person events. So when David and I took over the farm, we continued with the limited education and pictures and petting activities with the farm that the farm had already established. But we noted that there was a limited window each year with the fawns to bottle feed, and we would acclimate them to visiting with people. But once nature kicked in the fall, when the fawns would naturally wean, the fawns would let it be known that they were done with any educational and people visiting. Thus, the end of the programs for the year. Well, except for maybe one or two fawns that inherited a hearing deficit from totally deaf breeding buck that was daddy. Those few fawns each year would enable us to stretch our season out just a little bit further. Because they had a hearing deficit, they could care less about noises and kids running around them, and they were super, super friendly. So we could sneak a few things in for the fall. So I'm not sure that I kept up with all my things. What are some of the uniqueness that you may have at the farm? What could be used or expanded to create a unique experience, product, or service for profit? Do you grow plants, for example, or flowers that you could sell or offer a potting class, or how to sow seeds or create a container of plants? Let your imagination dwell on what you have available that you already have and how you can use your unique knowledge to create an experience, product, or service. Oops, not quite so high. It was one of those extended season occasions for us that we found ourselves in Shamokin, PA in December of 2011 for a physical therapy office that was hosting a holiday party for their clients. And while attending, this little girl, not more than 3 foot high, came over to the display fencing, pitched out her hip, crossed her arms, and with the nose loudly in the air pronounced, "Those aren't reindeer." She turned around and scooted off. I looked over my shoulder at my husband, who was minding the door to the display, and who replied to my glance, "That's it, we're getting reindeer." So, this is where we find the beginning of our reindeer story, and where I footnote that sometimes you never know what you might have said or done or could change the trajectory of your or someone else's life. Secondly, you may not even know that you've impacted others. So I have a question that I kind of toss out there is, what is your intent or personal impact, your farm impact? Have you clarified that? How can that intended impact be harnessed with experience, a product or service? And does your farm have a mission statement? So back to our story, in December 2011 was a turning point to changing the farm's direction. We took 2012, 13, and 14 to do our research, engage with the reindeer community, visit reindeer farms, attempt to become more knowledgeable, join association groups and attending for, their meetings, with reindeer finally coming in the spring of May 2015, our first breeding pair all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. So I question for you, are you continuously educating yourself? What activities are you participating in to grow yourself, your farm, your product, your bottom line? Have you reached beyond your comfort zone? So we did it. We were so excited. Reindeer have arrived. Could we get this affectionately BSC, excuse me, batshit crazy, female Noni to lead train? Were we ready for rut season? Could we have a baby next spring? How exciting. Could we apply what we had done with the whitetail industry, with the events of the past to the future with the reindeer? So exciting to think and dream where this might begin and take us. So this is Spirit and Noni that we brought out, that we first brought in. Unfortunately, we were devastated the first weekend of October with the 2015 with the loss of known. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Unfortunately, we were devastated the first week of October 2015 with a loss of Noni, our female, after a day of observation of something just not being quite right and unsure of what we needed to do in treating her. We had lost her, and with the vet on board, that was a Saturday, and we took her down for necropsy for answer. On Sunday, with our veterinarian on board again with us, we lost our bull in less than 24 hours later. So we were pretty devastated by the loss. It's an understatement. So in less than about 6 months, we lost both of them. So I'm going to tell you to make sure that that you have a good team, a good veterinarian, and other farm and service professionals on your team. You may have heard that there is no I in team, and it surely takes a team to operate a farm, as many of you know, and a business. So collaborating with others is typically an opportunity to discover and thoughts as well as practice of ideas. So heartbroken was certainly descriptive of what we felt with the loss of animals, but then to think of the loss of the farm, it wasn't just 2 animals that we lost, it was our whole herd. Not to know why put us on a hunt of discovery, knowing that there was a toxicity contributing to the loss from the necropsy information that we had gathered. So we started in the pens identifying weeds and plants. We reached out to the extension office for help in that. We laid pipe and closed access to a natural spring ditch that ran through our pasture because potentially it could be carrying toxins in it. We made notes on what we did and we didn't do. We scoured everything over and over again to locate anything that we could cause harm to the reindeer. We thought we may have found the possibility of our loss. So I'm going to ask, what are you doing to inventory your farm, learn and adapt and grow from your day-to-day events and experiences? Are you tracking information to reference to last year? So we reached out to other reindeer farms again to find available reindeer stock. Still nervous that we might not have found the right reason for the loss of our first reindeer pair. But in early spring 2016, we bought a little fellow home. This is him, Dasher. He was the twinkle in my eyes. We spent hours together as our own little herd while still looking for a pen mate for him. We finally found another little bull, bringing him home to the farm in the fall of 2016. But for whatever reason, our date was pushed back a few weeks in that time, we made it past our first week of October with our little guy, which was past the anniversary date of our first losses. So we were excited to add another reindeer and create a herd of 2 again. And then it happened. Something wasn't quite right with our little guy. It was the day we were scheduled to pick up our pen mate for Dasher. We postponed our pickup for 1 day, loaded Dasher up in the trailer, and took him to the university hospital. I argued with them the whole way to pull a drug out of the infirmary to have on hand when we completed our 3-hour ride. I had my suspicions, and they were not listening to my urgency, and it ended up that I was correct. So please be an advocate for your animals and your farm. No one is going to fight or work harder for it than you are. So be a specialist in what you do and know your stuff. So we lost Dasher at the animal hospital. We had already committed emotionally and financially to pick up the 4th reindeer to the farm. And I'm not sure if we hadn't that we would be in business with the reindeer today. The heartache was real. So with our little guy Dancer, who was only months old, we had our first reindeer display and photo season of 2016. Now, this is where I encourage you to network with others, to build your business. Who have you ever had to the farm? Who have you ever done business with? Who do you know? Who do others refer you to? Can you collaborate them in the future and offer events, products, or service for a win-win-win, profits in your pocket, branding of your products or farm? So we still take this approach today, bringing attractions to others' events. Each year we adapt and grow from our traveling reindeer, one traveling reindeer, I should say, in 2016 to now 3 trucks of 2 reindeer per display this past season. We collaborate with, let me flip up here for a second. We collaborate each year to support multiple locations for Toys for Tots, support the efforts of small business, attracting crowds to their shops and their stores, fundraise for multiple foundations, and support give back events for local community supported causes. We are truly blessed to be sharing our uniqueness with the world, and it doesn't hurt that it's with reindeer who tend to capture hearts and spread happiness wherever they go. So I'm going to ask you what you can offer to an off-farm event or to contribute and draw people to, and how can you spotlight your product or service experience? How can you support others with your product, service, or experience that you offer? So we currently have 8 tiny reindeer. This is some of them. 99% of our reindeer visits are off property. We look forward to expanding business by offering farm tours as a unique educational experience later this year. Again, we've taken to the roads, visiting other reindeer farms and collaborating with them to do our planning and preparing as to how to do that and reinvesting into the reindeer and the farm. So what can you do at the farm to draw people in to visit? What does it mean to have that doesn't mean you have to entertain an open season of 365 days on your farm. You're in control of when you are open to the public, maybe event dates that you bring others, i.e. crafters, food trucks, wine tasting, educational speakers in for the day or a weekend to the farm for the public to attend. It might be a short season that you host several dates open to your farm for agri-tainment and sell sunflowers or pumpkins or whatever your product might be to the direct public from the farm. Currently, our reindeer season consists of pre-sales photo dates and sessions at the farm, as well as working with multiple photographers at their locations or their clients' locations. Starting in late October, November, by mid-November, we begin our community events and supporting downtown and small business events for a fee with the reindeer off the farm displays and public visits. We use social media to let our reindeer fans know where to find us and support the businesses that we offer our event locations with. So use our social media. By mid-December, many of our clients are corporate events and private holiday parties with their employees, and some additional fee private part for private. I can talk today. Free private party events. There we go. In addition, the farm tour dates would slightly extend our season without traveling. So potentially offer more than November, December calendar with our reindeer and expand our Christmas in July promotions with farm tours and is the addition of a gift shop, which too could offer expansion of experience, product, service, and profits to the farm, not to mention growing our branding our farm. So if you were to come visit the farm, you would note that we also have Scottish Highland cows. These two offer a uniqueness to the farm. And I have to be honest, when we first brought the first two girls in, Jody looked at me, she says, "Are you traveling with them too?" Oh, goodness, no. So along with the Scottish Highlands, we have an assortment of feather friends, chickens, Muscovies, khaki Campbell ducks, guinea hens that share the reindeer pens. They could also offer other opportunities and experiences for our ticketed guests to feed. So our next addition is a pair of Great Pyrenees pups that will be guardians of all those who habit the reindeer pastures. There are a few other expansions that are in our plans for us at the farm. With a little more time and a little more elbow grease, we hope to share them with you too. So I made it a short and sweet presentation today, as my calendar, like many of yours, is full as I go home for reindeer pedicures today. So I thank you for us giving the opportunity to kind of share what we do here at the reindeer farm. I hope that I have offered you some things to think about when your farm, or how you may be able to offer a product, service, or experience and up your profits at your farm. But I thank you for visiting today. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer any.
All right. So, thank you, Cassandra. Great job. We just have one question in the chat box right now. But reminder to anyone, if you do have any questions, just pop them in the chat box. This question is from Sandy, and she asked, what ultimately was the cause of the loss of your reindeer?
That's a great question. And what it was babesia, which is a tick bite. It's very deadly to the reindeer. There is only one thing that we are knowledgeable of to save them from a tick bite, which is what I was arguing with the vet service or vet school to pull out for me. So ultimately it was a tick bite. So we have several protocols at our farm now to protect the reindeer from that, including the guineas. And actually Little Dancer that we had brought home after losing Dasher, he actually got bit by a tick. We had bought some organic hay when we had Dasher, and apparently there were ticks in that organic hay, thinking it was healthy, not thinking that it would have been treated for ticks. So we actually saved Dancer in the barn using the information that we had gained from the loss of the first three. So very few reindeer have ever survived from babesia, and it was a confirmed diagnosis for him. But yeah, the first three that we lost was from babesia.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. Actually, we just had one come in from Carrie. She asked, do you or your husband have off-farm income, and can the farm sustain itself?
We are just transitioning now to that. My husband we have a trucking business, transportation business that my husband has now become semi-retired from. November and December, he always got out of the truck so we could run the trucks for the farm. And we're actually transitioning this year. He does some kind of part-time out on the truck yet. I'm full-time at the farm. I have a couple other little things, but we are actually transitioning to be full-time at the farm with a few endeavors. The addition of the gift shop will add some additional income. We have a sawmill on property that could become some additional inventory, but reindeer are not easily found, A, and B, quite pricey to get started with. So hopefully now, knock on some wood, our breeding program will expand. We have had a baby last year and the year before at the farm, but potentially this will be our main but seasonal income at the farm.
That's awesome. I have another question from Sandra. Do you have to protect your antlers when trailering them?
We typically minimize any traveling when the antlers are growing, when they're in velvet, just so they aren't bumping and banging them while they're in that growing stage. But by the time we start traveling in November or late October, they are in hard antler. So there's minimal protection needed for those antlers at that time, because if they bump them, they're not going to bleed. That's all done in the velvet. So we're very protective while in the velvet, but very little is going to knock those antlers off during traveling season. The males might lose an antler. Dancer is famous for losing an antler right at the beginning of the season. Is a unicorn reindeer the whole season. So I typically don't take him out to travel, but those antlers, when we travel generally, are in hard antler, and it's not a big concern. Now, our Christmas and July events, while they're still growing, those I'm very careful about making sure we have wide enough gates and things like that for them, especially for the bulls that are so much bigger. The girls will fit typically through a regular width door at that time. That's a great question.
And another question from Sandy: are the reindeer typically tame and friendly?
They are. Reindeer are actually a domestic animal. They've domesticated themselves years and years and years ago, like thousands of years ago. So sometimes you get some wild ones until they figure out that you are a trusting soul. But in general, they are very quiet, majestic, mystical animal that tends to be friendly, except for rut season. You don't want to be in there in rut season. But they are typically a friendly animal. There's just a presence about them. I tell people that doing chores and working with the reindeer is actually very therapeutic. That's a great question too.
I don't see any other questions in the chat box. Well, here's another one. Are there regulations regarding the keeping of reindeer?
There are lots of regulations. We are papered out the wazoo. We have a USDA license that we maintain. We have a Department of Ag license that we maintain. We have a wildlife license that we maintain. We have accreditations and certifications that we maintain. Every time that we leave the property with the reindeer, I have pre-inspection paperwork that needs to be in, and inspections to be done. Once we've returned from those events, I have more paperwork to do to report in what we've done. And of course, there's annual reports that need to be done. So there's lots of paperwork that goes with having reindeer. That's another great question. But yeah, you definitely need to look into all the different regulations. I know we had recently brought some reindeer in this last year out of another state, and we had all kinds of hoops to jump through to bring them in. Part of the regulations is because of the chronic wasting disease that the whitetails have in Pennsylvania, and because we are also a cervid, we need to fall underneath some of those regulations as well. So yeah, there's lots of information that needs to be looked up, and you're welcome to contact us. SpruceRunFarm.com, there's a place to email us that we can, if you have questions on that, we are happy to talk to you about it. But that's a good question too.
All right, do we have any other questions out there? Just give it a couple of seconds to see if they pop in. If not, so that concludes today's presentation. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for taking some time out of your busy schedule and presenting to us today. It looks like you certainly have your hands full and are really enjoying what you're doing. So
we do.
Keep up the good work. Thank you so much to everyone that joined in today's presentation. I hope to see you guys throughout the week, later in the week. Tomorrow, we're gonna hear from Joan McCarty. She's a local artisan. She's gonna talk to us about the history of the Bloomsburg Silk Mill. And then on Friday, we'll hear from Mimi Christie from Penn State Extension, and we'll talk about women's nutrition. So without further ado, that is the end of today's presentation. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.